Now, Geoff, the latest news poll in the Australian newspaper shows the New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet is still in the lead as preferred Premier. So he's made up a lot of ground here against Labor's Chris Minns by 10 points. Look, Perrottet was falling well behind before. And this comes as the coalition introduces its new policies to what it says. It claims it'll bolster first home ownership by offering first home buyers the option of paying paying land tax instead of stamp duty. What's your take on how this policy is going to affect the election and just how close Chris Minns is to becoming Premier? Because while Perrottet has made up a lot of ground, look, his primary figures, it's, according to the news poll, it's still 37%. He can't win from that position.
Oh, look, I think Chris Minns and Labor are still in the box seat. We've had 12 years of Liberal rule in New South Wales and plenty of scandals along the way as well. We always expect to see those polls tighten, and in particular at those state elections where there's a different approach, I guess, from voters. And voters right now got so much on their plate around cost of living. We've got interest rates at their highest levels in more than a decade. We've got a rent crisis out there as well. So I just wonder, from a voter perspective, the cynicism when they hear governments at any level telling them that they're going to help them buy a house. This has not, particularly in this environment, I think they've got more things on their minds, whether it's paying the energy bill, paying the grocery bill, putting fuel in their cars. I'm very sceptical that this is actually going to sway someone in terms of how they vote come election day. And also, I think in that news, And
also giving people the option, or young, first home buyers, the option of stamp duty or land tax that might target and help young people trying to buy a home. But then you'd have people at the other end of the spectrum, because Perrottet says that once a property is a land tax property, it's always a land tax property. So then you're looking at, people retiring who'd be worried about never being able to pay off their home.
I think that's a huge issue. And let's cut through all the spin. At the end of the day, we need more land supply, and we need to stop the roundtables and reviews that we see at all levels of government. We need to remove those regulatory burdens and stop taxing everyone. I mean, it's not rocket science. We've been having this perennial discussion around housing for so long, and now we're facing labour shortages, building material shortages, and the interest rate impact, which is going to really smash the building industry. So they need to put those incentives in place, and they need to actually unlock land and build more supply.
Yeah. Now, Qantas announced record profits of more than $1 billion last week off the back of a rebuilding plan by Alan Joyce, long-term CEO. But there's a brilliant piece, in my opinion, brilliant, in the Australian Financial Review by Joe Aston today that actually goes through how Qantas took more than $850 million in JobKeeper government funding during the pandemic. It hasn't had to pay that back, yet it still won't pay company tax now. $1.4 billion in before-tax profit isn't a bad result for any company, let alone an airline. And it comes at a time when, you just have to listen to Talkback Radio to know this. So many people are disappointed with the service that Qantas has been providing in the past year.
When you talk about public sentiment, obviously the gas companies have taken a hit in the last little bit, but I think Qantas is right up there. I think there's a lot of frustration in terms of the delivery of services, cancelled flights, and then you see these bumper profits come through. And I think it's really important that Qantas doesn't take advantage of its tag as the national carrier. We saw so many airlines crash during the pandemic, and the fact is taxpayers bailed out Qantas, kept them afloat, and they have to, repay that faith shown in them. And I also think, just in terms of the Labor government, they've talked a big talk around multinational tax reform. In terms of what we've seen around those reforms and the return that we're getting on them, I think that they have to be more serious in terms of how they approach any quirks in the system where these big companies aren't paying what they should be paying.
Yeah. Geoff Chambers, thank you very much for your thoughts tonight. We'll see you soon.